My space nurse wants more than a checkup, she's in heat again. Asterisk routine checkup. Captain Derek Hawkins had been dreading this moment for 3 weeks. Not because he feared medical examinations, he'd survived countless battles across the galaxy, but because of her, Nurse Zephyra Moonwhisper, the Celestian medic assigned to Deep Space Station Omega-7, had been acting strangely during his last visit. The medical bay's sliding doors hissed open as Derek stepped inside, his boots echoing against the polished metal floor. The familiar scent of antiseptic mixed with something else, something floral and intoxicating that seemed to intensify whenever Zephyra was near. Captain Hawkins, came a melodic voice from behind a privacy screen. Please have a seat on the examination table. Derek's pulse quickened. 3 months ago, when Zephyra first arrived at the station, their interactions had been purely professional. She was efficient, thorough, and maintained the perfect bedside manner expected of a medical officer. But lately, something had changed. Zephyra emerged from behind the screen, and Derek's breath caught in his throat. Her luminescent blue skin seemed to glow more intensely today, and the delicate silver markings that traced along her arms and neck pulsed with a rhythmic light he'd never noticed before. Her large violet eyes, normally calm and focused, held an intensity that made his heart race. How are you feeling today, Captain? She asked, her voice carrying a slight tremor as she approached with her medical scanner. Fine, Derek managed, though his voice came out rougher than intended. Just the standard monthly checkup, right? Zephyra nodded, but her movements seemed more deliberate today as she began the examination. Her touch lingered longer than necessary. When she pressed the scanner against his chest, her free hand rested on his shoulder, her cool fingers sending electric currents through his uniform. Your heart rate is elevated, she observed, her voice barely above a whisper. Are you experiencing any stress or anxiety? Derek met her gaze, noting how her pupils had dilated slightly, maybe a little. As she moved to check his reflexes, Zephyra's breath caught when their skin made contact. The scanner in her hand beeped erratically, and she quickly pulled away, her silver markings now pulsing rapidly. Is everything all right? Derek asked, genuinely concerned. Zephyra turned away, her shoulders tense. I apologize, Captain. I haven't been myself lately. Derek stood up, taking a step closer. What's wrong? You've seemed different these past few weeks. She spun around, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and something else, something primal. You wouldn't understand. It's a Celestian condition. Try me. Zephyra's composure cracked slightly. My species experiences what you might call cycles. Every few years, our biology compels us to seek out compatible partners for bonding. It's not just physical, it's emotional, spiritual. When it begins, we become hypersensitive to potential mates. Derek's heart hammered against his ribs. And you think I'm compatible? She laughed nervously, wrapping her arms around herself. Captain, your pheromones have been driving me to distraction for weeks. Every time you're near, my body responds in ways I can't control. The scanner malfunctions because my bioelectric field becomes unstable around you. The medical bay fell, silent except for the hum of equipment. Derek processed her words, understanding dawning on him. Is that why you've been avoiding me? I've been trying to maintain professionalism, Zephyra admitted, her voice breaking slightly. But it's getting harder. The cycle is intensifying, and you're the only person on this station who triggers it. Derek took another step closer, watching as her markings pulsed faster. What happens if you don't find a compatible partner? The cycle eventually ends, she said quietly, but not without significant physical and emotional distress. Some Celestians have been known to fall into deep depressions that last for years. And if you do find someone compatible, Zephyra's eyes locked with his, vulnerability and hope warring in their depths, then we bond. Completely, mind, body, and soul become intertwined. It's beautiful, but it's also permanent. Derek reached out slowly, his fingers barely touching her hand. The contact sent sparks through both of them, and Zephyra's markings flared brilliantly. Zephyra, he whispered, maybe we should talk about this. The revelation. Next morning, Derek found himself pacing his quarters, unable to concentrate on his duties. Station reports lay scattered across his desk, Untouched since his encounter with Zephyra, her words echoed in his mind, body, and soul become intertwined. A soft chime from his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called. To his surprise, Zephyra entered, still in her medical uniform, but looking exhausted. Her usually pristine appearance was disheveled, and her silver markings flickered weakly against her blue skin. "Captain, I owe you an explanation," she said, her voice strained. "What I told you yesterday was only part of the truth." Derek gestured to a chair, but she remained standing, pacing much as he had been moments before. "The bonding cycle isn't just about finding compatibility," she continued. "It's about survival. When a Celestian reaches maturity, they have only a limited number of cycles. If they don't bond successfully within those cycles, their life force begins to fade." Derek's stomach dropped. "How many cycles do you have left?" "This is my last one," she whispered, meeting his eyes. "If I don't bond within the next few weeks, I'll begin the diminishing, a slow death that takes about a year." The weight of her revelation hit him like a physical blow. "Why didn't you tell me this yesterday?" "Because I didn't want you to feel obligated," Zephyra replied, tears forming in her violet eyes. "The bond has to be genuine, or it won't take. Pity or duty can't sustain it." Derek moved closer, his heart aching at her vulnerability. "Is that what you think this is, pity? I don't know what to think anymore," she admitted. "I've been fighting these feelings for weeks, telling myself it's just biology. But when you touched my hand yesterday," she trailed off, shaking her head. "What happened when I touched you?" Zephyra's markings began to pulse more steadily. "I felt something I've never experienced before. Not just attraction or compatibility, something deeper. Like recognition." Derek reached for her hands, and this time she didn't pull away. The moment their skin connected, both of them gasped. A warm energy flowed between them, and Derek felt an overwhelming sense of rightness, as if puzzle pieces were clicking into place. "I feel it too," he whispered. "I've felt it for weeks, but I thought it was one-sided. Humans can't sense the bond the way Celestians can," Zephyra explained, her voice growing stronger. "But you're responding to it subconsciously. The way you look at me, the way your body language changes when I'm near you've been calling to me without realizing it." Derek squeezed her hands gently. "What does the bonding process involve?" A blush colored Zephyra's cheeks deeper blue. "It's intimate, but not in the way you might think. Yes, there's a physical component, but the true bonding happens on a spiritual level. We share memories, emotions, even dreams. Our life forces intertwine until we become two halves of a whole, and it's permanent, completely. Bonded Celestians rarely survive the death of their partner. We become that connected." She searched his face anxiously. "I know it's a lot to ask. I'm essentially asking you to tie your life to mine forever." Derek was quiet for a long moment, considering the magnitude of what she was proposing. A lifetime commitment to someone he'd known for only 3 months. Yet when he looked at her, when he felt the energy humming between their joined hands, it didn't feel rushed or crazy. It felt inevitable. "Can I ask you something?" he said finally. She nodded. "If you weren't in your cycle, if your life wasn't at stake, would you still want this? Would you still want me?" Tears spilled down Zephyra's cheeks. "Derek, the cycle doesn't create feelings, it amplifies them. What I feel for you, what's been growing stronger every day, that's real. The bond can only form when there's genuine love beneath it." "Love?" Derek's heart skipped. "I love you," she whispered. "I've been falling in love with you since the day I arrived, and I've been terrified to admit it because I knew this day would come. I knew I'd have to choose between letting you go or asking you to sacrifice everything for me." Derek brought her hands to his lips, pressing gentle kisses to her knuckles. "What if I told you it wouldn't be a sacrifice? What if I told you I've been falling in love with you too?" Hope blazed in Zephyra's eyes, and her markings flared brilliantly. "Do you mean that?" "I mean it," Derek said firmly. "But I need to understand everything before we go forward. Tell me about the bonding ritual." The decision to spent the next 3 days researching everything he could about Celestian bonding rituals. The station's database contained limited information, but what he found both thrilled and terrified him. The process was described as transformative to beings becoming permanently connected at the deepest level possible. He was in his quarters, poring over translated Celestian texts when his communication panel chimed. Dr. Vance Torres, the station's chief medical officer, appeared on the screen. "Captain, I need to speak with you about Nurse Moonwhisper," Vance said, his expression serious. "She's been coming to the medical bay during off hours, running tests on herself. Her biological readings are concerning." Derek's blood ran cold. "What kind of readings?" "Her cellular activity is accelerating rapidly. It's consistent with the preliminary stages of what Celestians call the diminishing. If she doesn't complete her bonding cycle soon, we're looking at irreversible cellular breakdown." "How long does she have, based on these readings?" "Maybe 2 weeks before the process becomes unstoppable." Derek closed his eyes, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. "Thank you for letting me know, Doctor." After ending the call, Derek sat in silence for several minutes. Before making his way to the medical bay, he found Zephyr alone, sitting on the examination table where he'd been just days earlier. Her appearance had deteriorated noticeably. Her skin had lost some of its luminescence, and her markings flickered weakly. "You look terrible," he said gently, approaching her. She managed a weak smile. "The cycle is reaching its peak. My body is preparing for either bonding or the alternative." Derek sat beside her on the table, taking her hand. "Dr. Torres showed me your test results." Zephyr's shoulders sagged. "I didn't want you to know. I was hoping I could hide how quickly it's progressing." "Why?" "So I wouldn't feel pressured. So you could make your decision based on love, not fear of losing me," she replied, leaning against his shoulder. "Though I suppose those might be the same thing now." Derek wrapped his arm around her, feeling how much weight she'd lost in just a few days. "Tell me about the ritual. I want to know exactly what we're committing to." Zephyr straightened, looking into his eyes. "The bonding takes 3 days. On the first day, we share our memories. I'll experience your entire life as if it were my own, and you'll experience mine. It's overwhelming but necessary for true understanding. And the second day, we share our emotions. Every feeling we've ever had becomes accessible to the other. Joy, pain, love, fear, all of it. Many couples don't survive this stage because they can't handle the intensity of truly knowing another person." Derek nodded, his heart racing. "And the third day, physical bonding," Zephyr said softly. "Our life forces merge completely. From that moment forward, we'll be able to sense each other's thoughts and feelings. We'll share dreams, share strength, share everything. If one of us is injured, the other will feel it. If one of us dies, we both die." Derek finished. "Yes. But Derek, bonded Celestians live longer than unbonded ones. The shared life force actually strengthens both partners. We could have centuries together." Derek was quiet for a long moment, processing everything. "What happens if we start the ritual but can't complete it?" Zephyr's markings dimmed further. "If we fail at any stage, the shock to my system would accelerate the diminishing. I'd have days instead of weeks." The magnitude of the risk hit him like a physical blow. If they tried and failed, he would lose her immediately. But if they didn't try at all, he would lose her anyway. "There's something else you need to know," Zephyr continued. "The bonding ritual is sacred to my people. It's not something to be entered into lightly. Once we begin, there's no turning back." Derek stood up, pacing to the far side of the medical bay. His mind raced through the implications. A lifetime commitment to someone he'd known for months. The possibility of sharing thoughts and emotions completely. The risk of both their lives hanging in the balance. When he turned back to Zephyr, she was watching him with a mixture of hope and resignation. "I need 1 more day to think about this," he said quietly. Pain flashed across her features, but she nodded. "Of course, this is a life-changing decision. You shouldn't rush into it." Derek approached her again, cupping her face gently. "I'm not having second thoughts about my feelings for you. I'm just trying to make sure I understand everything we're committing to." "I know," she whispered, leaning into his touch. "I love you for being so careful about this." "I love you too," Derek replied, the words feeling more natural each time he said them. "Tomorrow, I'll give you my answer." That night, Derek lay awake staring at the ceiling of his quarters. He thought about his life before Zephyr, the loneliness, the endless routine of military duty, the feeling that something was always missing. Then he thought about the past 3 months, how everything had felt brighter and more meaningful with her presence. The choice, he realized, had already been made. His heart had decided weeks ago. His mind was just catching up. The bonding Derek found Zephyra in the observation deck at dawn, watching the stars wheel slowly past the station's massive viewports. Her condition had worsened overnight. Her usually vibrant skin had dulled to a pale blue, and her silver markings barely flickered. "I was wondering if you'd come here," she said without turning around. "This is where I come to think about home." Derek moved to stand beside her, taking her hand. "Tell me about your world. Celestia is beautiful," she said, her voice wistful. "Crystal cities that sing in the wind, oceans that glow with bioluminescence, and skies that shift between a dozen colors throughout the day. But it's also rigid, traditional. When I chose to serve in the Galactic Medical Corps instead of staying home to find a bonded mate, my family was disappointed. Is that why you're here, running from their expectations?" Zephyra smiled sadly. "I wanted to make my own choices, have my own adventures. I thought I could control my cycle, maybe even suppress it with medical intervention. I was wrong." Derek squeezed her hand. "Do you regret coming here?" "No," she said firmly, turning to face him. "If I'd stayed on Celestia, I would have bonded with someone appropriate, someone chosen by my family. But I never would have felt what I feel with you." Derek reached into his pocket and pulled out a small data pad. "I've been reading about the bonding ritual all night. The translation algorithms had some trouble with the more complex passages, but I think I understand what we're committing to." Hope flickered in Zephyra's eyes. And I want to do this," Derek said, his voice steady despite the enormity of the decision. "Not because I feel sorry for you, not because I'm afraid of losing you, but because I can't imagine my life without you. The bonding isn't just about saving your life, it's about creating the life we both want." Tears streamed down Zephyra's face as her markings suddenly blazed with renewed light. "Are you certain? Once we begin, there's no turning back," Derek finished. "I know. I'm ready." Zephyra threw her arms around him, and Derek felt the familiar electric sensation of their connection, stronger now than ever before. "When do we start?" "Now," she whispered against his ear. "The ritual space is already prepared in my quarters. I've been hoping you'd say yes." Derek followed Zephyra through the station's corridors, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Her quarters had been transformed, the standard tissue furniture pushed aside, to make room for an intricate circle of glowing crystals. Soft music played from hidden speakers, a haunting melody that seemed to resonate in his bones. "The crystals amplify and focus our bioelectric fields," Zephyra explained, her voice taking on a formal, ritualistic tone. "They'll help merge our consciousness safely during the first phase." Derek stepped into the circle, immediately feeling a subtle shift in the air around him. The crystals hummed with energy, and he could sense Zephyra's presence even more acutely than before. "Sit facing me," she instructed, settling cross-legged on the floor. "Take my hands, and whatever you do, don't let go until I tell you." The memory sharing can be disorienting. Derek mirrored her position, their knees touching as he took her hands. The moment their skin connected, the world around them seemed to dissolve. Suddenly, Derek was 5 years old, running through crystal gardens while his mother Zephyra's mother called after him in the melodic Celestian language. He felt the joy of discovery as he found a rare singing flower, experienced the wonder of his first glimpse of the cosmic aurora that danced through Celestia's atmosphere. The memories came faster now. Zephyra's first day at medical school, the pride and fear of leaving home, the determination to prove herself in a field dominated by males of her species. Derek lived through her struggles, her triumphs, her loneliness when she realized she was different from her peers. At the same time, he felt Zephyra experiencing his own memories. She gasped as she felt the sting of his father's belt, the confusion of a child who couldn't understand why love came with pain. She experienced his military training, the bonds forged with fellow soldiers, the weight of command, and the lives lost under his watch. Hours passed, or perhaps minutes. Time had no meaning in the memory storm. Derek lived through Zephyra's first glimpse of him when she arrived at the station, felt the immediate recognition that he was different, special. In return, she experienced. His growing fascination with her, the way she made him feel more alive than he had in years. When the memories finally slowed, both of them were crying. They knew each other completely now, every fear, every hope, every moment of joy and sorrow that had shaped them. Day 1 is complete, Zephyra whispered, her voice hoarse with emotion. How do you feel? Derek looked at her with new eyes, seeing not just the woman he loved, but the complete person she was, all her complexities, vulnerabilities, and strengths. I feel like I found the other half of my soul. Tomorrow, we share our emotions, she said, leaning forward to kiss him gently. Rest now. You'll need your strength. As they settled into Zephyra's bed, Derek held her close, marveling at how natural it felt to know someone so completely. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, he was exactly where he belonged. The completion. Derek woke to find Zephyra already awake beside him, her silver markings pulsing with a steady, strong rhythm he hadn't seen in days. The memory sharing had clearly strengthened her, but he could still see the underlying fragility that spoke of her race against time. How are you feeling? She asked, tracing gentle patterns on his chest. Different, Derek admitted. It's strange, knowing someone's entire life as if it were my own, but good strange. Zephyra smiled, but he could sense the nervous energy beneath her calm exterior, another side effect of yesterday's bonding. Their emotional connection had already begun to form. Today will be more intense, she warned. Sharing emotions isn't like sharing memories. Emotions are immediate, visceral. You'll feel everything I've ever felt as if it's happening right now. Derek sat up, studying her face, including the pain. Especially the pain. Joy is easier to bear than sorrow, even when it's not your own. Zephyra touched his cheek. Are you ready? Derek nodded, and they moved back to the crystal circle. This time, as soon as they joined hands, the world exploded into sensation. Derek was drowning in Zephyra's childhood fear of abandonment, the crushing weight of her parents' disappointment when she chose her own path. He experienced her first heartbreak, a young Celestian male who rejected her because she was too independent, and felt the sharp sting of loneliness that had driven her to seek purpose among the stars. But along with the pain came incredible joy. He felt her wonder at seeing a human city for the first time, her excitement at learning new medical techniques, her quiet satisfaction at saving lives. And threading through everything was the growing warmth she'd felt for him, admiration turning to affection, turning to deep, abiding love. Meanwhile, Zephyra gasped as Derek's emotions crashed over her. She experienced his rage at an unjust universe that had taken his parents too young, his guilt over the soldiers who had died under his command, his deep-seated fear that he was incapable of the kind of love that lasted forever. She also felt his wonder at the vastness of space, his fierce protectiveness toward those under his care, and the gradual awakening of hope that had come with knowing her. His love for her wasn't gentle or pretty, it was fierce, protective, and tinged with desperation at the thought of losing her. As the emotional storm raged around them, Derek and Zephyra clung to each other, their consciousness merging and separating in waves. At one point, Derek couldn't tell where his emotions ended and hers began. The experience was overwhelming, terrifying, and absolutely beautiful. When it finally ended, they were both sobbing, holding each other as if they were drowning and the other was the only lifeline. They had seen each other at their worst, selfish, petty, afraid, and somehow loved each other more for it. One more day, Zephyra whispered against his neck. Can you handle one more day? Derek pulled back to look at her. Her skin was glowing, more brightly than he'd seen since the bonding began, and her eyes were clear and bright. Can you? You're the one taking the biggest risk here. I've never been more certain of anything in my life, she replied. What we have, Derek, it's worth everything. The final day of bonding was unlike anything Derek could have imagined. As Zephyra had explained, the physical component was only part of it. As their bodies joined, so did their life forces, creating a connection that transcended the merely physical. Derek felt the moment their souls touched, a sensation like coming home. After a lifetime of wandering, energy flowed between them, and he could suddenly sense Zephyra's thoughts and feelings as clearly as his own. Her joy became his joy, her love amplified by his own until it seemed to fill the entire universe. I can feel you, he whispered in wonder, his hand pressed against her heart. Your thoughts, your emotions, everything. And I can feel you, Zephyra replied, tears streaming down her face. You're so much braver than you think you are, so much kinder than you believe. As their connection deepened, Derek felt something, fundamental shift inside him. He was still himself, but he was also part of something larger. The loneliness that had plagued him for years simply vanished, replaced by the unshakable knowledge that he would never be alone again. When the bonding was complete, they lay intertwined, marveling at the new reality of their shared existence. Derek could feel Zephyra's contentment, her relief, her overwhelming love. In return, she sensed his wonder, his gratitude, and his absolute certainty that he had made the right choice. How do you feel? She asked, though she already knew the answer through their bond. Complete, Derek replied, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Like I've been half a person my whole life and finally found my other half. Zephyra's markings blazed with brilliant light. Stronger and more beautiful than ever, the diminishing had been reversed. The bonding had not only saved her life but enhanced it. So what happens now? Derek asked, running his fingers through her hair. Now we live, Zephyra said simply. We work, we love, we explore the galaxy together. We have centuries ahead of us, Derek, centuries to learn everything about each other, to grow together, to build a life that neither of us could have imagined alone. Derek smiled, feeling their shared future stretching out before them, like an endless starfield full of possibilities. I love you, Zephyra Moonwhisper, and I love you, Derek Hawkins, she replied, forever and always. As they drifted off to sleep in each other's arms, Derek marveled at how his simple visit for a routine checkup had transformed into the greatest adventure of his life. Sometimes, he thought drowsily, the best journeys were the ones you never saw coming. Through their bond, he felt Zephyra's gentle laughter at his thoughts, and her wordless agreement. Their story was just beginning.